have Dr. Badri Narayanan Gopalakrishnan, Fellow and former Head, Trade, Commerce and Strategic Economic Dialogue, NITI Aayog, Government of India, served the Government of India at the rank of Joint Secretary as Lead Advisor, Trade and Commerce, Strategic Economic Dialogue and International Cooperation, NITI Aayog, Indian Policy Hub. Prior to this, he had been an applied economist with 20 years of experience and expertise in economic modeling and data science in areas such as international trade, energy, agriculture, industry, and health. Economic impact of new technologies like drones, robotics, 3D painting, nanotechnologies, cloud, IoT, blockchain, etc. Over to you, Mr. Badri.
Greetings, everyone. I'm delighted to be part of this grand celebration of Global Sustainability Awards. It's very important for all of us as individuals, organizations, industries, civil society members, governments, and so on, to think deeply about sustainability and not just think about it and come up with ideas, but also implement them because we are already running late. There is a lot to be done in order to make sure that the planet is livable for the next generation. So we have to think about the next generation, but we also have to think about the current happenings. So if we do not think in terms of sustainability, there are a lot of disasters and difficulties that are happening already. We see a lot of climate change related incidents across the world. We also are constantly worried about submergence of coastal regions, islands, and so on, and melting of glaciers. So a lot of things are already happening. So it's not just about next generation, but even now we have to think deeply about sustainability. But of course, sustainability is not just about climate. So climate is a major part of sustainability, but we also have to think about other tenets of sustainability. So let's say we have very clearly defined Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which have been agreed globally. They have elements that relate to social sustainability, economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, and so on. So in terms of social, we have various sustainability aspects related to health, labor standards, and education, and so on. So then in terms of economic sustainability, we have reduction of inequality, reduction of poverty, and so on. When it comes to environmental sustainability, I already in the beginning I talked about climate change, environmental policies to reduce emissions, and so on. So all these different aspects need to be considered together. We have to be very conscious of what we are consuming, what we are producing, how are we producing, how are we consuming, and so on. So I think this is extremely important globally. But there are a lot of positive developments in the recent years which can give us a lot of confidence that these SDGs, sustainability related goals are not imaginary. They can be attainable. They have been attained to a large extent even in the recent past. For example, if you take the performance of India when it comes to reduction of emissions, based on the Paris Agreement, we are very much on track. We have met a lot of the goals of emissions reduction well ahead of time. And similarly, there are many other countries which are also performing well. when it comes to health-related issues, health indicators are also rapidly increasing globally. We are witnessing a massive reduction in undernourishment in terms of infant mortality and so on. Similarly, we are also witnessing a huge increase in the standards of living of people. So in that sense, the labor standards are also improving globally, and this is partly because of the traditional argument of trickle-down economics. Globally, there is a lot of wealth creation, and that leads to greater standards of living for the people at large, and that leads to improved performance in terms of health and education or social indicators. So it's kind of a virtuous cycle where you see good things happening and that reinforcing to make more good things happening. So I think that is one kind of, I would say, positive development. But we also have a long way to go in terms of several other aspects. Right? For example, the climate goals, although we are in the process of meeting the Paris Agreement and other targets, COP27 and so on, there is a long way to go. And our targets are also not that ambitious in some ways. They're ambitious in terms of how much needs to be accomplished, but at the same time, they're not ambitious in terms of what is actually needed to avoid catastrophic climate change and so on in the future. So I think that part has to be taken into account. We have to think of all the official targets in terms of SDGs, in terms of emissions and so on, with a pinch of salt, in the sense that these are more for think of them as lower bound or the minimum that is that is required to be met. But we have to go well above that standard. Otherwise, there can be really difficult situations when it comes to climate or social unrest, health-related issues, and so on. Having said all these different things, I also have to definitely touch upon the recent issues in the last couple of years because of COVID. So COVID has led to a huge reduction in terms of the achievements that we have had over the past few decades in terms of reduction of poverty, reduction of inequality, and so on. The clock has been set back quite a bit because of COVID. In some of my own analysis, I've seen in the past that when the first wave of COVID and second wave of COVID, when it happened, because of the massive loss of jobs and reduction of income and so on, globally, poverty has gone back to the levels that it was in some 5-6 years ago at the minimum. So that is a huge cause of concern. We have made a lot of progress over time, and it's easy to totally destroy all this progress within a year or two. So that is what has happened because of COVID, very unfortunately. And the recovery is happening, and also more than the trickle-down economics that has worked with mixed record in the past, we have to think about how to directly target the poor people and reduce inequality with massive public expenditure, subsidies and so on, but also a lot of involvement by the private sector. We need to boost, for example, the corporate social responsibility of the companies, and we also have to work very hard on this aspect, the reduction of poverty and inequality. But having said these kind of negative developments, I also have to end the speech with a positive note, and that is the extent to which the COVID related difficulties have pushed us to digital transformation and a lot of innovative ways of survival, resilience at micro level, at macro level. So that is something that we should all deeply appreciate. And many of you might have seen that during the year of COVID, the global emissions came down significantly. But of course, it's not a permanent thing. We are getting back to the old levels of emissions. But the COVID situation has taught us how to lead our lives in a way that we have minimum carbon footprint, and we can, companies and civil societies and so on, they're doing a lot of things online, virtually. So you're reducing a lot of travel expenses and the emissions related to travel. Even this conference, for example, is happening completely virtually. So this is a very big thing. We never could have thought about some 3-4 years ago. And that's a big positive that's coming from COVID in terms of sustainability. But broadly, what I want to conclude this talk with is with 4 takeaways. First is that sustainability is an essential thing, not only for the future generations, but even right now. There is a lot of work to do in terms of social, environmental, economic sustainability. Secondly, we have made a lot of progress we should be proud of over time in all tenets of sustainability. Thirdly, because of COVID, there has been a lot of reduction in the achievements that we have enjoyed in the past. And finally, there are also some positive takeaways from COVID, which can be used by people at large, by the corporates, governments, or civil societies to boost sustainability through innovative methods, digital transformation, and frugal approaches to conferences like this, and so on. So I think that is the broad set of points that I wanted to make. Thank you once again very much for inviting me for this, and apologies for not being able to join live. I have, right now I'm on a vacation and I'm just recording this message while on vacation. So I'm really delighted to be part of this August gathering, and I also would love to express my congratulations and greetings and best wishes for all the people who are being honored for their excellent services in terms of sustainability, and I would definitely think of their contributions to go a long way to inspire many others to walk on the path of sustainability and boost the confidence that we have in this generation, next generation, and the coming generations on how we are going to have a resilient, sustainable, and prosperous living. Thank you very much, and my best wishes to everyone for the wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays. Thank you very much once again.